If women's sports is that important, why don't we let women decide what is wrong, what is right in women's sports? Let women take lead into women's sports. Don't come here as a man and say, I think women should look like this. Women should be the ones who decide how women should look like, how women should be celebrated. For me, I'll say if we can draw all those lines to say, look, women's sports for women. With no disrespect, I don't disrespect anyone, but I feel like women's sports has been disrespected. And men have
Disrespected
always...
how, do you think?
Why do you regulate women's sports? You don't regulate men's sports.
Hello everyone, and thank you so much for coming. It is my absolute pleasure to announce Caster Semenya. Thank you. Yeah. Well, welcome to Oxford.
No, thank you. Good evening.
Well, I mean, before we begin, I just wanted to ask quickly. So I've seen a Guardian article with you the other week where it was sort of about how would you sort of identify yourself, like what sort of label would you give yourself? I sort of wanted to ask what your thoughts on that would be. Yeah.
Yeah, of course, I'm a woman, of course. I'm just a human, just like any other. So, yeah, I'll just say, just identify me as a phenomenal woman. Yeah.
I mean, what's certainly most phenomenal is that at the age of only 18, you won a gold medal in the World Athletics Championship. I mean, like, what did it feel like, to have such an extraordinary achievement at such a young age? I mean, I can only speak for myself, but at 18 years old, I did not have a gold medal. But, what was that like?
Man, I think it was the world because you grew up, in a dusty place, tiny village, deep in the rurals. And then, just a few moments, you're in the world stage. But I think it comes, comes through hard work. It comes through dedication, discipline. I think also understanding how to differentiate between, consistency and, motivation. Of course, I was motivated, but I think consistency played a vital role into, that championship because through, the championships, a lot has happened. And for me, to maintain myself, stay calm, stay humbled and still, respect, the authorities, under circumstances, being questioned, being told you're not enough, being diminished, being criticized, judged, and all those things. I think it comes with knowing who you are. Obviously comes with the, self-discovery, your identity, knowing where you're going, but knowing the end goal, because the end goal is to get them gold, so.
Yeah. Well, you met the goal, certainly.
No, of course, it was a great feeling, but you win a gold, then you're not celebrated. But for me, I think the most important thing was understanding myself, having a better relationship with myself, being able to know how to celebrate myself, I think helped me, break the barriers, separating myself, from the world media, what people are saying, But then the most important thing for me was like, what people think of me has got nothing to do with me. But the most important thing is that what do I see? What do I think of myself? And it comes, with, self-love, self-respect, appreciating yourself and knowing where you're going. But most important thing, they always say, charity begins at home. Thing they're bringing, help me, enjoy all that because how my parents raised me, they make sure that I'm always happy. And happiness, lies in whatever I do.
Absolutely. And is that an attitude you think you've sort of come to over time? Or is that something, from 18 you sort of had immediately? Or do you think it's sort of taken you sort of age and wisdom, as we say, to sort
Of course.
get to that point?
That was the attitude, that I had, from age of 5. Of course.
Fair play, fair play.
From age of 5, because from age of 5, you discover that you're a little bit different, from kids that you grow around, in the society. You're that little girl that, just like, different things, apart from the girls that I grew up with. And from, I think, that moment, that's when I realized, what, I'm destined for something. I'm something special.
Yeah.
But for me, to carry on living life like this, I gotta do things, in a way that even if someone come question me, I walk the talk, you understand?
Yeah.
And since that day, my parents, sit me down and they tell me, you know what? My name is Mukhadi, by the way, meaning is the one who guides. And they'll be like, look, you see, you're living your own life how you want it. We cannot judge you, we cannot criticize. The thing that we can give it to you is love. But the most important thing is that the love we give to you, you should be able to give to yourself. Are you happy with what you see on the mirror? I say, oh, yes, I am happy. And I say, good. So continue on rocking that, because they say authenticity is the best outfit that you can rock as an individual. If I speak here, each and every individual in here has got their own differences. You're coming from different backgrounds. It does not matter where you're coming from, how you look like. The most important thing that you can do is to do you for you. Love yourself, appreciate yourself. Just be happy, make yourself happy, because at the end of the day, if you don't make yourself happy, you can't expect someone to make you happy if you're not happy. For me, when I wake up each and every day, I look at that mirror. Whatever reflects there, that's me. That's what makes me happy. And whatever I do, each and everything in this world, I make sure that happiness comes within. And that's when you find peace.
Excellent. Well, amen to that. But I wanted to ask you slightly more broadly about your later career. So, of course, needless for me to say, it's something that sort of was steeped in controversy as sort of time went on. And before we get into the actual issues of that themselves, I sort of wanted to draw attention to the fact that a lot of it came from leaks and, dare I say, breaches of your privacy.
Yeah.
Sort of, how did that feel, basically?
I think for me, it feels great when people do me a favor to discover myself or share, my private space, with the world, because I realized it was going to be difficult for me, to reach out or to socialize or to talk about, my differences. But then when people say they accidentally, leaked, the information, I'll be like, oh, I like how you do it, because it makes it easy for me to connect with the world. It makes it easy for me to educate the world about the differences in human body, you understand?
Yeah.
As individuals, we all have our differences. But for me, I embrace it because I'm a different woman. I love it. I know how I walk. I know how I speak. I know how I dress. So what? It don't matter, but it don't make me less a woman. But for me, when that information was leaked, I was like, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Because I've been wanting to be out there just like any other individual or just normal person.
Yeah.
But then realizing that you have differences, there's nothing wrong about that.
Yeah.
But what's good about me is that I'm not scared of rejection. You understand?
Yeah.
Rejection make you a better person because you start understanding the principle of life. You start understanding how a human operates. A human is like, everyone likes money, né? So when you do good, they want to be part of you. When you do bad, they all, just disappear. You understand? For me, I realized that, you know what? It's fine. It's fine when people critique. It's fine when people judge. But if you don't really know who the real person is, for me, it don't matter. You understand? For me, it's about going there, reaching out to people, seeing their differences, embracing them, celebrating them, accepting each and everything about them. So it doesn't matter. It don't matter at all. So I'm happy with how I am. I'm living the best life of my life, you understand? And be like, when you ask me, what you doing? I'm saying, I'm chilled, you understand? So, that's me, it has always been me. But one thing about the situation that I can say is that I learned through it. I grew, you understand? I got to a maturity where, I start, separating lines. I'll be like, okay, look, these people are talking about, your gender as if, it's nothing. So what is it that you can do for yourself, to be happy? What is it that you can do for yourself to move on with life? The only thing that I can do is just talk through it myself and accept, the situation. Find a way for me to live through it, because at the end of the day, if I shade away, don't face the world, so then you were never gonna hear about Caster Semenya. So, but the only things that you do, you face the world, you rock yourself, you be the way they say. They keep talking and saying, no, she's like a man, oh, maybe with, but the most important thing is that I know, I don't believe. I repeat, I know that I'm a woman. I don't believe that I'm a woman. That's the difference between me and those guys.
Right. So I wanted to sort of backtrack slightly. So you mentioned rejection, and
Of course.
When it was all happening, did you ever feel maybe not betrayed, but perhaps abandoned by your fellow athletes or by the sort of athletic community in South Africa, for example? And then was there more you expected them to do, or were you kind of like thinking this was going to happen, or was it a complete surprise?
Of course, it was a surprise, because when it came across me, it came through as a doping test. And I'll say, I can't say betrayed, I'll say they failed me because they did not protect me, you understand? They did not.
How did you expect them to protect you?
For them to protect me is very simple. You sit me through, and then you say, you know what, Cass, this is what's happening. And this is the situation we're in, you understand? And for me, I would have appreciated that, because I wouldn't have went through the process, you understand? The process came to me by surprise. I come in, I get the, a psychologist come in, try to counsel, but the counseling was not straightforward. They went through the corners. You come to me and say, Cass, sometimes in life people will talk. That's not counseling. Just tell me that, you know what? There have been questions about you. People have been questioning your gender. And then for me, I'll understand, even if I'm young, because I'll ask you, take me through it. What should I do? What do I do next? Do I walk away or I stick around? But instead of them doing that, what they do, they keep quiet. They send, a psychologist. The psychologists come and tell me, they've been the talks about you and this and that. And I go through the very same procedure where I go to, the nearest, clinic for me thinking it's a doping test, only to find out when I get there, the gynecologist telling me, it's a gender test. I'll be like, okay, gender test. Okay, let's go through it, because there's nothing to hide. For me, there was nothing to hide, because I'm a woman. It did not matter the consequences or the outcome of the results. But the mere fact that I know I'm a woman, I got nothing to, to hide. But then when this thing comes out, that's when I have to take, matters on my own hands to ask, the president of the federation to say, you're going to choose between me and being the counsel. You understand? Remember, I'm still 18 years of age, but I knew, because I studied sports law, for my first year in the university. And I'm like, okay, this is the situation. You're telling me I must walk away. I'm not walking away. It's either you choose to step out as a counsel to fight, or I'll see if there will be anyone who will drag me off the track. Of course, I knew they will not drag me off the track, because I've already ran the heats and the semis. I went through the process. I understood the process. And what he did, he came back to me and told me, I've stepped down as a counsel. I said, my man, oh, you're going to bring that medal? I'm going to bring the medal. You're going to put it on my neck. You understand? And for me, I appreciate that more than anything. There are failures and everything, but for them allowing me to run is the best thing that they could have done for me.
And the drugs course they prescribed that you had to take, I mean, what effect on you did that have emotionally, psychologically? I mean, like, do you think it changed you?
Of course, it's like walking in a dark light. It's like you're walking in a tunnel that, towards the end, there's no light. For me, going through that medication, remember, it's through desperation for me getting back to the track. Remember, I become a world champion, and then a few months later, you're suspended. I'm like, what? And then now you have to negotiate for you to come in. Remember, IAAF comes with, it's either you do a surgery or you walk away.
Right.
And then me, I come and say, I'm not gonna walk away. It's either I find a solution or I fight. But I cannot fight, I'm still young. I don't have that energy to fight. And then we agreed for me to take the medication, and they'll say, okay, you try, we give you 6 months. That's a lifespan, 6 months, like, for you to be able to see if it will control the variation. But then it came with risks. My doctors told me, look, this is not a good medication. We're just doing it for you because you're desperate to run. But for me as a doctor, I will not advise you to go through this medication. I say, look, I don't really care about the outcomes. I want to be a double Olympic champion. I want to be triple or even more, you understand? And they look at me like, are you sure you can handle this? I say, surely I will. I'm still young, to be able to worry about the future that I don't know. It will, come. And then we do that. Every day of, taking that medication is like hell because, panic attacks, the stomach is burning, nauseous. Depression is on its best. You understand? You can't think, you don't want to be around people, you always sideline yourself. So you only realize when you're older that you've been depressed. And of course, the blood, clots, those they told me, the risky, obviously towards the end will tell you the possibility of cancer. That's why they gave me, that 2 year,
2 years?
Yeah, they told me, my doctors told me, you're only taking this for 2 years because your dreams are for you to run Olympics. So you're only gonna take this to 2 years. I'm like, 2 years comes, I'm like, nah, I'm not enough. I want more, you understand? But I think for me, being able to just survive that, it was only the hopes for me to be in the Olympic, be an Olympic champion, run the Olympics, maybe even repeat more and more running, all those world championships, because you have to understand, for me coming from a rural area, I would not care about the symptoms that they come around. Of course, I suffered. I've never been happy, since day one till, the end. So it's one of those days where we'll say, for you as a teenager, you've been robbed. You're a teenager. Yeah. My teenage life, I lived more like a responsible, middle-aged, woman. You understand? It was hard. It was hard, My parents look into my eyes would be like, are you really good? I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. It's okay. It will pass, you understand? But what I can say to you, you don't want to live through that. No. It's like, you're digging a hole that you can never fill up. You're wearing oversized shoes that can never fit. You understand? So it was hard. But I think for me as a human, from there, I learned through that to say, you know what? From this day on, I'm not gonna treat each and every individual in a bad way that I make them feel like they're not welcome, make them feel like they're not loved, feel them like, they're not supported. You become that, responsible person to say, I'll advocate for what is right. I'll always go there and make sure that I fight for, diverse and inclusivity. So that's me. That situation has built me to be a better person, to see life in a positive way. But if I may say, that was hell.
Sounds like it. Yeah.
No, of course it's hell.
Yeah. I mean, I think
Only if you're there, you'll understand.
Sure. Yeah. Fair point. Yeah. I think what's become very clear from all of this is that you absolutely love running.
Of course.
I mean, who can say otherwise? And I sort of wanted to ask on that. I mean, I believe you won your case of ECHR, but the verdict wasn't a binding ruling. So how has that affected you, sort of in your sort of pursuit of running since?
Of course, it did affect me a lot, because if you look into my athletics career, you know, when this ruling came up, I was on my prime. You understand? And you look into my age, it's like late, 20s, 28, 29s. And of course, if you look into the accolades, I could have been, maybe close to 7 times world champion, probably 4 times Olympic champion. But I'll say things happen for a reason, because I cannot put blame on world athletics and to say it has affected me financially. Of course it does, but at the end of the day, what I'll take out of it is positivity. It's to say I'll sacrifice myself to fight for those young girls who cannot voice out. I'll fight for those who cannot stand up and say, you know what, hey, this is wrong. Yes, it did affect me, but I think in a positive way, I got a growth out of it. I've learned, how to be better and also how to fight for others.
But do you feel robbed at all? I mean, you're talking about all the championships you could have won, but didn't. I mean,
I can't say it's robbed. If it's God's will, I cannot say robbed. You understand? If you believe in God, you'll say, God cannot put me in a place where I cannot survive. For me, if it's God's plan, I let it be. Because I cannot say I'm robbed, because as I stand here, I have all major titles. There's nothing that I've not won in athletics. You understand? And if I may say I was robbed, it will be for me a word against God. God has put me in this space knowing that I'll fulfill anything. I'll enjoy everything. I'll say that I put it into God's hands. Me, I'll continue on serving Him, because I'm a living testimony of God. I am His reflection. I'm going to live this life. I'm going to keep on educating, guiding, making sure that each and every individual in this world understand, the principles of life, how to treat people with respect. This is about humility. So for me, if I would say robbed, that could be a big word against God.
Point taken, yeah. Well, I wanted to ask you about your book, actually, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
So in your book, you sort of talk a lot about this concept you call lines. So, lines between identity and expectation. I mean, where do you think that stands today, and what do you think that is in the future? As in, where do you think we draw the lines going forward?
For me, the line, of course, the lines that I talk about, it's women's sports future. So here we talk about women are not making all these decisions, you understand? These decisions are all made, by other gender, which is a man, you understand? For me, the future that I'm looking into, what I hope for is that it gets into men's senses to say, hey, look, if women's sports is that important, why don't we let women decide what is wrong, what is right in women's sports? Let women take lead into women's sports. Don't come here as a man and say, I think women should look like this. Women should be the ones who decide how women should look like, how women should be celebrated. For me, I'll say, if we can draw all those lines to say, look, women's sports for women. With no disrespect, I don't disrespect anyone, but I feel like women's sports has been disrespected. And men have
disrespected how, do you think?
Why do you regulate women's sports? You don't regulate men's sports.
Fair.
That could be one question that you can never answer. And one thing that I can tell you is that you as a man, you're a man.
True.
If women's sports is really important to you. Why are you busy segregating women? Why are you busy turning women against women? It does not matter what differences we as women have. If we're going to take men's sports, we put women's sports, we all the same. We all have genetics. All those things should be embraced. All those things should be celebrated. And if we're going to debate about men, women's sports, the debate will never get to an end, because at the end of the day, it's never fair for a man to rule women's sport. You understand? But women's sport, women cannot rule men's sports. That's what I'm saying. You get what I'm saying? So when we talk about equality, for me, that's why I'm here. And if they think there's a place where I'm going nowhere. I'm still young. I'm still gonna fight, for these things. I'm gonna make sure that it gets to women's mind to say, women, we need to own our throne. Case closed.
And sort of, pursuing that aim, like, what would you do? Like, what's your first step? Like, what do you think needs to be done now?
I think it's a very simple, question to answer, because women know what to do. They know they need to start standing up for each other. I understand that in sports, we depend on the sports, we depend on these contracts. We know that these contracts, they are drafted by men. But I think it comes with we women start educating one another. Women empowerment is very important. I'm not talking about through social media or just, saying words that you don't mean. I mean acting up, making sure that we as women, we protect one another. Because at the end of the day, if we go against one another, we will never be on that level that we want to be. At the end of the day, we also want to lead and show that we as women, we can run the sports. Till we as women come together as one, and we make sure that we protect one another, we don't question one another, we don't judge one another, we don't critique. You understand? Then, for me, I'll be fulfilled. But it comes with us coming together in the sports, say, look, we do all these women conferences, but we never talk about things that we go through. I don't know if we as women, we're scared or what, but till we speak our hearts, we speak our mind, our opinion also matters. But it looks like we're sitting down with our own ideas of what we think things should be done. We speak behind scene, but we never confront these situations. Till we confront that, of course, women's sports will also, rise up, and then we'll do what's great. We will never be, questioned to say, she's Caster Semenya or she's Serena Williams. She's doing great. There must be something wrong about her. You understand? It should be women who say, she's great, she's phenomenal, the same as Michael Phelps, the same as LeBron James, the same as Tiger in the Woods. You get what I'm saying? So those things should be, these things should be said by us. We're the one who should be saying those things, not men praising us. We as women, we need to start celebrating one another. Till we celebrate one another, I don't know the direction we're heading.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So, you're talking about empowerment and inspiration a lot.
Of course.
And you sort of mentioned earlier how you felt the sort of athletics community, if you like, hadn't really supported you. I mean,
Yeah, of course.
Going back to recently, obviously, massive win for South Africa in the Rugby World Cup. Do you think there's a role for, not just within South Africa itself, but just globally, for sort of athletes as a community, sort of, speak on issues or to inspire people or to, empower people?
Of course.
Do you think there's a role for that, and if so, what, basically?
I don't think there's a role yet, because the conferences that we normally, have, it's never about really in depth about these real issues that we're facing here. It's always about, equal pay, this and that. It's never about really about the leadership. You understand? Where we will say, for instance, in 5 years we want to see, Serena Williams taking over on the world tennis, to be the main person, maybe the president or stuff like that. We never speak about those situations. We only speak about equal pay, inequality, and stuff like that. That's not the real issue. The real issue here is about the leadership, where women needs to come and build one another. We have few leaders, in the world where they're in this, organizations, But what I feel is that it's like we've been, being done favors just to be there for a picture, just to be saying, yes, because we say women and men should, come in one place. They must just be in. And then you see the positions that we're given. It's not really the positions that make, an impact in terms of decision making. And if you see the majority, of course it's going to be men. But for me, what I'm saying is that till we women, we sit down, we sanction those events where we say, this is about women empowerment, about leadership, teaching one another how to lead, how to govern. Because the most important thing is the governance, you understand? Till we as women, we know how to govern, but then as well as we know how to stand for ourselves. I think it will become easy. Of course, in the world we have those world, known business women there and there, but in sports, we still in short. I've never seen a woman stand up, against men, say, look, what you're doing here is nonsense. We need to move this direction. Till I see that for me, I'll never stop. I'll always confront those situations. I'll always go around and tell them, look, this is what we need to do. You understand? For me, I feel it's very important for the world to start involving women in decision making. It's very important because if we're not being listened, we're not being taken in consideration, we will always face this thing that women are meant to just bear kids, women are meant to just be housewives, women are supposed to just cook for us, iron, and do all those things. Women cannot lead, women cannot. I'm tired of that thing. Women can do that. We are here, in this institute to get a better education, to get better knowledge, to get those skills. We need that opportunity, but it's up to us as women to give one another that opportunity to say, look, we need to go after this. We need to lead. We need to run this institute. If we don't do that, you think you can give me that chance?
Absolutely. I mean, one question I do have, we've been talking about sports in a very uniform way, but do you think it is just the same across all sports? Do you think there are some sports in which maybe women's rights are slightly further along and some in which are slightly further back? And if so, which ones?
I don't think there's any sports that women are favored.
For you not to be favored per se, but do you think there are some in which they're less unfavored than others? I mean, do you think it's equally bad in every sport? Or do you think there's some?
Of course, it's bad. It's bad in each and every sport because I'll give you an example for American football, soccer. Women soccer team had to fight for equal pay. Yeah. You see, why must we fight to be heard? Why must we fight to be included? Why must we fight to be in the equal level as men? You see, there's always something down, something's up. So, but men needs to start understanding that women are also capable of doing the very same thing that they're doing. You understand? But nonetheless, we can't keep on talking about women and men, about equality. We're here to promote the book.
Fair enough. Well, I mean, onto your book then. I mean,
of course.
that's what you want to talk about. I mean, okay. I mean, so on your book, I mean, why write it now? As in, like, what sort of sparked you to write it?
Why I write the book now? I think I'll say I'm in a good space. I'll say I'm healed because it was part of healing process. But the most important thing is that for me, it was just to educate people about self-love, self-discovery, self-control, self-actualization, self-management. But the most important thing is that you learn how to invest, in yourself, know your worth, and also just to have that better relationship with yourself, because we tend to sacrifice ourselves, but we never make ourselves happy. So I think for me, it was just to raise awareness also with all these things that young girls go through in sports, but as well as in life, just to remind people that human rights are very important. People need to be treated with, dignity, with respect, with love. People need to be appreciated for who they are. Judging does not help us grow, this world. You understand? I think for me, those are the reasons why I came about to write the book, but also to share my story, with the world, just to show them things that we go through, as young women, in the sports, things that we enjoy, things that you can never imagine that, if you are a parent. I'm a parent now, I have 2 kids. I will not allow them do athletics if I know that they're gonna go through that. But then for me, I need to teach them how to understand their worth. It's all about, self-respect, all those things. And making sure that they respect themselves to an extent where they cannot allow anyone to violate them, anyone to judge them, to critique them, to make them feel like they're not enough. I want them to understand that, you know what, if I'm custom, I'm custom. I love myself the way I am. I am not going to change myself because of you understand? So I think for me, it was one of those things that, you know what, I just want to share my story with the world, but also make them aware of the things that, I had to go through. But also, it educates them about, people with differences, to say, look, we do exist, we do live in this world, but you must know that we are proud of our differences, but you are not going to allow someone to identify you, for who you're not. Yeah.
Fair enough. And would that be sort of the main takeaway you want people to get from that book, would you say?
Well, I think also it's more of, for me to educate, the world about, the principle of life, because we tend to live in this world, based on what other people think of you. You understand? For an example, man, if you go into, you're coming here in this university, and then first thing you come in, and then I tell you, you don't belong here. You understand? I think those are the things that we need to face as the world, to say, look, we need to appreciate people for who they are. You understand? Regardless of where you're coming from, what the color of skin you are, how you speak. But the most important thing, I think, is about humility. For me, I think what I want people to take out of this book is about humility. Where I'm coming from, we say Ubuntu, you understand? Humanity, you understand? People need to understand that if we're gonna live in this world, keep on criticizing one another, making people feel like they're not enough, it becomes a problem. But then in sports-wise, it's just to say, look, let's accept people for who they are. Let's celebrate people for who they are. Let's not question them. And then my hope is that this book educates all these, sports authorities to say, look, stop this, regulating women's sports. Treat women with respect and let them make their own decision based on what they think is best for women's sports.